Same package. The 850 is not going to make it slower. The rear ride height device out will, and then until fourth gear, then you'll see, okay, the thousands are faster second half of the straight.
Yeah, that for the last 2 or 3 years, when you speak to any rival of Ducati, any other rider that's not on a Ducati, they'll always tell you it's mechanical and electronic rear grip, where the Bologna factory really has an advantage. We've heard from Fabio Di Gianantonio in the commentary box here today, and we were asking him, where do you feel like the GP25 can take a step forward? He didn't mention anything about rear grip coming off the corners. The Ducati is so good. He just said, they've noticed, Gigi Dall'Igna said this himself yesterday in a media scrum, that some of the other bikes, in particular the KTMs, have crept level, if not a little bit ahead in terms of top speed compared to the Ducati, and a little bit more mid-corner speed is what they're going to be searching for in Borgo Panigale over the course of the winter.
Which the Aprilia is probably the leader in that, isn't it? With the confidence in the front end, it sounds like, but also their aero and the way the chassis works. The Aprilia corner speed wise is awesome, isn't it?
And the Ducati, we know, is awesome as well at just managing the rear tyre, preserving the grit for the latter stage of the Grand Prix. I remember, well, you only got to look at in the early part of this season, the Aprilias were competitive and beating the Ducatis in the sprint. When you have got the performance, not just over the sprint distance, but over the full Grand Prix distance as well. In that area,
it's something else watching the Aprilias on, the two new riders. One of these, basically Marco Bezzecchi and Jorge Martin. Compared to Aleix, they pick the bike up like, Danny Pedrosa was famous for when he was racing, as probably still is, but picking the bike up so quickly, like just, getting it turned and then go bang up and get on the power, where Aleix is kind of more blends it slowly in there, like blends and it looks like the bike is getting upset when they pick it up quickly and really unstable, and I think these guys, the Ducatis, have got a so smooth delivery, and like I said, that rear transfer, not just the ride height device we saw then, that I really think the good bit is Aprilia know now, they've been told today, from two riders coming from GP23, GP24, exactly what they have to work on, and I would be surprised if they didn't make a good step forward with that information.
Yeah, knowledge is power, and there's a lot of knowledge coming from Ducati inside that factory Aprilia garage. Just to emphasise the point about what the Gianantonio and Dall'Igna have been talking about, the need around this sort of point, when you're really going through fourth, fifth and sixth gear to improve the top speed of that factory Ducati. Maverick Vinales on the KTM, quickest through the speed traps here today, 354 kilometres an hour. All four KTMs are inside the top 6 through the speed gun here today in Barcelona. So just kind of emphasising, they've noticed it, they notice everything, don't they, top engineers, and that's just why Dall'Igna alluded to the fact that yesterday we need to just find a little bit to crack the KTMs on the straights again.
There they are right on screen, and Kurt Trieb is the man that is responsible for that. And there's the new KTM exhaust a little bit closer together, both of them up high with the exhaust valve. Kurt Trieb is their engine development man. He's a very nice fella, real gentleman to talk to. I got to catch up with him today, and he's basically saying it's very small changes on the machines you're seeing on screen now. They're basically their first 25 engine with that different exhaust. It's just basically trying to make tweaks to make it deliver the power a little bit nicer. They're not trying to change anything big. Little polishing it, basically polishing what they've already got.
KTM, Brad Binder just moved up to 5th place on that 56th lap of the day for the South African, 139.508. So he is now the lead KTM out on circuit. Ralph Fernandez also is putting together a bit of a late charge for Trackhouse Racing. He's just gone up to 4th thanks to a 139.471.
The other thing as we see one on screen, the GP, could be a GP24 then actually. Yeah, I think it is. But the GP25, the lack of chassis, the lack of metal in the chassis, it's amazing. Like, it's so thin, but also it looks like if you do the V like what was it the French do to the English, like like you're pulling a bow back, the long bow. And so if you do that one finger above the other, two of those, so there's 4 fingers going out to the steering head. It's like 4 fingers of aluminium heading out to the steering head, and it must be quite strong when they're upright braking, but when they're leaned over, how flexible it must be. You see what I mean? When it's on its side, and it must soak up and bend. It's like it was already like that, but the GP25, they've cut more metal out, or not put it in the first place. Further back, from the steering head goes further back. That's why they put carbon fibre covers on there. It's how you can recognise the GP25. The front of the frame is all covered in carbon fibre there. But I've looked through the holes and down it, the metal is all missing behind it. It's just not showing off what they're doing behind it. It's like the unreal. You just wouldn't believe how little chassis. I think one engineer said to me that used to work on these bikes, said that the rider wouldn't get on there if he knew how little chassis there was there. It's like so thin. Yeah, crazy what they're getting away with. It's basically just putting it where it needs to be. Which one's that? It looks like they're getting back on. They're back on. Couldn't quite see properly there, but Pecco was back on the GP24. I think Mark was in there, I can't be sure. But anyway, super thin, and I have to admit to seeing it one day without an engine in it, lying on the floor, and of course I didn't get a camera out or anything, it's not correct, but again, it blew my mind that there's even less metal than I thought there was holding that chassis together. Of course they use the engine in some part, as part of the stress member, but it's truly amazing how the Ducati have developed that chassis and how soft it is without the motor in there.
Smart old cookie is old Gigi Dall'Igna, isn't he, in all of his tech boffins. Back at Ducati. Jorge Martin then looks like he's going to go all the way down to 5 p.m. checker flag time here in Barcelona.
So all the riders getting back on. The Pecco was on GP24. That's the RSGP 24. So the base bike he started the day on, which they must be after the day going back and confirming the other one was better.
Well, it's been an excellent start to 2025 for Fabio Quartararo and the factory Yamaha team. Quartararo at the moment second quickest with a 1:39.199. Is he going into the winter break happy, Jack? Well, we'll find out, because the former world champion is down in pit lane.
Yeah, he is. Day done for Fabio. Well, year done for Fabio. P2 on the timing, still with a little bit left. Overall, happy with the day?
Yeah, quite happy. I mean, we cannot really reflect on the result of today. But I think that we found a little bit our direction. As I think everybody see, we tried new aero, new chassis and new swim gun. I think that with the new chassis we found a little bit our way. But comments didn't talk to Miguel yet, but just to see how he was feeling.
And I imagine next time on the bike, the shakedown in around 2 months' time?
Yes, around 2 months' time. I think that we will.
But when you compare that to the Fabio Quartararo that we've heard at the end of the final running of 2022 and 2023, that sounded like a very different Fabio, didn't it? He went away from the winter last year and the year before, really, when he lost the World Championship to Pecco Bagnaia, expecting a big step from the Yamaha on the first day of running of 2025 and not getting it. That sounded a much happier Frenchman.
Yeah, certainly more upbeat. I mean, there's been times over the last couple of years where Fabio Quartararo has lost patience with Yamaha management, Yamaha engineers. He's been dishing out a few verbal haymakers, but this year he does seem to have just reined it in a little bit. I have to say, Fabio Quartararo is a former world champion. He's such a gifted talent, such a phenomenal rider. Cannot be easy to be in Fabio's situation, where you're looking at other riders on the grid and he's thinking, ordinarily I'll be beating these guys, I'll be smoking these guys, and they're finishing 20 seconds ahead of Yamaha back to the front.
It's nice watching the progression of Fabio, because we saw him in his early years in MotoGP have losers cool like quite easily, if things weren't going right, and then as the bikes got less competitive, he's got more reason to lose his cool, but then has figured out. I guess last year he really figured out that last year was the, I think, making of how he works now. You saw at the beginning of the year losing his rag regularly, temper, I mean, and then at the end of the year, by the end of the year, different processes over different races, he was a different Fabio, wasn't he? Just realised that, but he works a different way, he's more mature about it, more methodical, and he's re-signed, and he has to be on board to help them develop to get back at the front. That's what he's committed to. He knows where they are, and he knows where they want to be, and I'm super excited about this new one turning up, because they've got to learn a little more about aerodynamics and electronics, which I believe that they've learned a lot over the last couple of races. And I've got to throw something in here, electronics.
That just gives you an indication of just how close the contact is between rider and tech guru. You have to say at the moment they are steering themselves back towards the front. Marc Marquez with a bit of a late flurry here. Lap 47 completed, and it's his fastest lap of the day. A 1:39.454 from Marquez. That puts him up into P4. What do we think, Si? What have we made of Marc Marquez's debut in the factory Ducati team? I mean, we always knew that he was going to just be sort of feeling his way in, learning new surroundings, and then testing the new bike. But Marc's going to be such a big threat next season, isn't he? I mean, he's going to be a big contender. Yeah,
Tadozzi said to us about 12 o'clock today that Marc came in humble, quiet, like a new member of the team, and basically, and he said that's because he is intelligent. You don't roar into a new team and I want this and I want, so yeah, I imagine he's getting to know everyone. They're getting to know how he works, what he wants, and like Tadozzi said, he's intelligent. He's going through a methodical process, figure everything out. He's super experienced. He knows that's the right way to do it, so they have to go through that process, and obviously he has to feel the differences. He's got two different machines to ride today. He's gone from GP23. He's spent time on GP24 and GP25. So lots of lovely new parts for him to try.
I just wonder here, the way that he's waving into the grandstands, whether this might be the end of what has been a comeback here in many respects to Marc Marquez. Galvanised, rejuvenated by the switch over to Ducati. All he wanted to do was enjoy himself on two wheels once again. He did that. 3 Grand Prix victories in 2024. And it looks
just
like
to Grassini there on the way past.
Yeah, he's left one family to another. Yeah, that looks like it definitely is then. 2024 complete for Marc Marquez. His last lap of the season, his last lap of the year, was a rapid one, wasn't it? 1:39.454, but the big waves to the crowd, the waves to the grandstands as well. It looks like that's 2024 done and dusted for Marc Marquez. A season where he proved that the fire is still there, the hunger is still there, but most importantly, so is the speed.
And into next season, he and Pecco Bagnaia is going to be the big dynamic we're going to be looking for. Look at the smile on Marc Marquez's face as Gigi Dall'Igna, just at the bottom of the picture, is debriefing with him. Gigi Dall'Igna, one of those who pushed so hard to get Marc Marquez into that garage. We've already seen he and Pecco Bagnaia collaborating through the day, sharing their feedback on the new Ducati. But next season, as much as they will be teammates, they will be major opponents.
He's probably just said to Dall'Igna,
just watch this as he goes past Grassini. I thought he did that. Look at that.
Oh, it's to his dad as well.
He owes such a debt of gratitude to Grassini Racing. Of course, you can't really say that Grassini took a punt on a rider who's won 8 World Championships, but this was, they love Marc Marquez. Marc Marquez loves Grassini Ducati. It has been a year in the history of Grassini Racing which they're never going to forget. What a bond they formed. They were the team that gave Marc Marquez the chance to get back to winning ways. I wonder if Mark was just saying there to Gigi Dall'Igna, you would not believe what I could have done on that bike this year, mate.
Hey, that's the sort of banter you do when there is a proper friendship, isn't it? You know, absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Well, that's the number that he wants next season. At the end of next season, he wants to be world champion once again, doesn't he? Well, we'll hold him to his. We'll hold him to. I was going to say hold him to his word. We'll hold him to his finger this time next year to see whether Marc Marquez can find that elusive 9th world title. Working hard as he has done since he first threw a leg over that LTR Honda is Johann Zarco. Still keeping himself inside that top 10. I think he's going to be keeping a very close eye on the upcoming Jerez test in southern Spain, where I do believe that there is
something big.
Something big, yeah, something big is rolling out from HRC. Brad Binder, let's have a quick check. There's not too many riders still out on track at the moment as we move into the final 10-12 minutes or so. We've just seen Zarco, of course, out on circuit. We can see Brad Binder still out on track, the South African 6th fastest.
Just while we were looking at Zarco, about the Hondas, what I saw at what we can still call today Repsol Honda is, it looked to me that, and it makes sense, that the bikes of Bradl had gone down to the Repsol Honda garage, or next door to, because they had one that looked just like Bradl's bike each, and one of the bikes they spent the weekend on. And then in the factory Honda test garage, they had machines that looked like another chassis again. So and probably engine spec. So yeah, Honda is still working away, and it's great to see light at the end of the tunnel, because we couldn't say that for a very long time. We couldn't see any real progress, but it was around Misano time that they made some good progress and gave their riders, as Zarco said, something to fight with, you know, enough to fight with other riders, where he said you couldn't even fight before, the riders would just pull away. So for Honda fans, it's great to see Honda making some steps forward, and no doubt they will again before Malaysia test.
Yeah, we said earlier on this afternoon that Misano test came at the absolute right on cue for Honda, because at that stage you were getting the impression that Johann Zarco's patience was wearing wafer thin at that point.
Perfect stopping now. Let me see behind your knee. I'll just try and figure out if it's the new one. I think it is. I can't. I'm sorry, I can't. I believe that's the one he did the race weekend on, not the new one.
Luca Marini then, heading out for the last 10 minutes of what's fair to say has been a pretty turbulent maiden season for him inside the factory Honda garage. He did score points in 5 of the last 7 Grand Prix, but a season that fell well below expectations. I think he knew it was going to be hard work, he knew it was going to be tough. I'm not sure he really envisaged just how difficult it was going to be.
You know, Matt, that's a really good point, and I believe they're heading out for starts, aren't they? Start practice, just getting back on the old bike after doing a lot of them doing that. It's a really good point what you said, because it's one thing to say, right, I'm going to HRC, they'll go forward, and that clutch was a bit juddery, wasn't it? You know, HRC will fight forward, we'll make some progress, I'm going to be a factory Honda rider, they're going to pay me well, I'm going to... But to actually live it, riders aren't famous for having lots of patience, and when you're not competitive, to do that session after session, day after day, weekend after week, month after month, it's just too hard, you know. And now that they are making some progress, I must feel so good, like, to know that we are, you know, because they didn't. It was years. I would say 2 years before we saw any sort of progress, you know, proper. It was sideways steps, but recently they made some forward steps.
Yeah, let's hope that those steps continue to be made forward. Just there inside the factory Ducati garage, former world champion, I've got to get used to saying that, about Pecco Bagnaia. He was just going back out on circuit. We know that throughout 2024 there's been this new rider communication system that has been tested. You can see there was a wire connecting Bagnaia, so I think he's going back out.
It's not the same with Tyrrell earlier.
Yeah, some messages, aren't there, that he's just going to go out and test. A little voice in his ear, you know, things like red flag, yellow flag, etc. It looks like that's what Bagnaia is just heading back out on circuit for.
I watched Fabio Quartararo do that earlier. They had Sergi Sendra and everyone in the box, and a camera on the crew chief while he was talking to Fabio, while a few of the members were all listening to the communication back and forwards. So it'll be interesting.